Welcome to the Realennials. I'm Ruby.
I'm Pat.
And today we're joined by Wes Hamilton. He is a local entrepreneur and he is also the founder of a nonprofit organization called Disabled But Not Really, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I don't want to mess it up. Anyways, thanks for being with us, Wes.
Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks
this
you
morning
guys.
on this bright early weekend morning.
Hey, it's an honor.
Yes,
I'm excited
thank you.
about it. So
Very excited to have you. So let's get into how you grew up. What's up? Where did you grow up? Where are you from? Give us a little rundown about, where you came from.
I'm born and raised on the east side of Kansas City, Missouri. I think I honestly was down on the east side maybe till I was about 16. So I really didn't know how big Kansas City was until I got into my teenage years because I always was just around the area.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
We talked to somebody yesterday that did that.
we talked
Anyways. Yeah. So you didn't ever venture out to the other areas of Kansas City, or you just like to stay over there? What's going on?
It wasn't really that I liked to. It was more
that was home.
I'm big on like a mindset, and I feel like the people that came from the community where I was raised were trapped in a way. Like you didn't want to go to different areas of town because you knew that you might not have been accepted, and so we instead just focused on the resources that was within the community because that's where you felt welcome. And so it was like no reason to go anywhere else because we don't know that other side. It was like it was a shade of gray, and you didn't know if you would be okay that way or whatever, but you knew a safe place was home in the community that you was around. And it also, you didn't think big back then. I mean, again, for me, I didn't think big. We didn't have too many people to kind of push us to think big. So when you got this small mind, you just stay in this small area. And that's the best way I could put it. Because now, since I think bigger, my mind expands. I'm always trying to reach out and find different areas. But when you have this small mind and you can't think of more, you don't know. You don't want to find more.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And, we probably know the answer to this is all of it, but do you think that what components of that maybe played in your personal life? Do you think it's like tribalism within your community where you're like, this is our community, this is why go elsewhere or where we're not welcome? Or is it just literally a lack of maybe resources or understanding or
feeling comfortable maybe.
Or confidence or comfort or whatever, in expanding and going and trying new things outside of that?
I would say it was more of just the comfort. I mean, it was really just the comfort. It was just you didn't want to go somewhere that you just didn't feel wanted. And you didn't know if you wasn't wanted, but you didn't. It was the fear too. So think about that. It's like fear of trying to try something new, go somewhere new, meet somebody new or some people that are new. Instead, it was more, if my circle is small, I'm gonna keep it small. I'm gonna hang around with family and friends, and that was the lingo back then. It was, you look at music, right? We look at Drake. It's like no new friends. Well, that was literally a mindset back then. So why would I want to go out somewhere? I didn't get out until I was around 18. I actually got a job further in Kansas in Olathe, and I'm like, oh my God, it seemed like a whole new world.
Culture shock.
Sure.
It was just driving down 435. I mean, you thought going to maybe Oak Park Mall or something like that was a journey, so we never went.
Yeah.
Instead, for us, the furthest we would go was Bannister, and that's when Bannister Mall, Blue Ridge Mall back then.
Yeah.
So we didn't really expand. So when I got this job, I was nervous. I thought, my face and the skin color, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if I'm welcome out here. I mean, I probably got pulled over a couple times, probably just from being nervous and not knowing how to feel welcome in this area.
Wes was just going super slow. That's why they stopped him. They were like, what's going on?
Because I'm looking around, I'm amazed all the time. I'm like, what is this? This looks so nice, and it's
such a weird thing. Maybe it's something from being a kid that doesn't translate as being an adult, but I remember going out to Lakin all the time, which is a 30-minute drive from our hometown. It's a smaller town outside of our hometown. and that thinking that was like such a journey and like it's such an effort, and like we would go like maybe 2 or 3 times a year to go visit family out there, but like consistently nearly every day I drive at least 30 minutes across KC, and it's like it does not feel like it's that much of an effort or to that much of a journey, and it's like what a weird like thing. And then like even I think to this day to go out to my hometown of Garden City to think about going to Lake and be like, oh,
An
like,
extra
30-minute drive, and it's just a weird dynamic. I don't know if it's because it's country and you just leave the city, and here you don't. I think it has to do too with traffic. Like you're so involved in traffic and you're paying attention to it, so time goes a little bit quicker, so you get to your destination. Anyways, no one wants to hear about traffic. But what was that first job?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask too.
I was working at a call center. I think it was Encore. It was Encore back then. I think they call it like Convergys now. So it was literally off of like Santa Fe or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And so it was far.
Ooh.
I mean, that was when I found out, it's when they had a Go Chicken Go out there in like Olathe, and like I didn't even know
about Go Chicken Go.
I mean, honestly, no. I knew it was on 55th.
Yeah.
Like it's in my area, but did I know it was in other places? No. And so I'm like, they're like, oh, it's a Go Chicken Go, not far from here. I'm like, what? Like literally again, culture shock. Yeah. Like I'm thinking to myself,
these people like that.
Yeah, and this restaurant is actually in Kansas. Like it was, dude.
It's weird to have that proximity and still have that same level of culture shock as someone that came 6 hours, moved here from 6 hours away.
Yeah, I had culture shock when I moved. Well, we grew up in a mostly minority. Like we had a lot of Hispanic culture around us at all times. Like everybody at the stores spoke Spanish. Everybody at the bank spoke Spanish. You're seeing your tias and stuff like around town. Hey, tia, what's up? And then you move to this side of the state, and it's just like not that way.
Yeah,
you know how to put it in some terms. But when I first got here, I was like, I didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to act either. I'm like, I don't see my people. Where are my people at?
Right.
But you just kind of have to adjust and just like be confident in yourself and that your people are welcoming you.
No, it is confidence. Everything is confidence. If you want to, advance in life, you have to be confident with who you are to even believe that you can do more. I mean, it's just always a mindset thing. And for me, we were just stuck in a mindset that, it had been kind of instilled in us that we weren't welcome other places. Like, as your listeners, if they don't know, so I'm a paraplegic, so I've been paralyzed for 7 years, but I didn't travel. I didn't do anything until after my accident because my mindset changed. So like I didn't even believe in traveling. Like, I mean, when I was 16, I went to Job Corps in Utah. Yeah. So that was like my first time like really seeing something different. Wow. But as soon as I came back home, I was just stuck right back in that mindset, that small town, even though it's big, but it still feel like a small town and a small mindset because you went right back around the people that you knew. Right. And so that was literally it, man. It's I think from generations, right? Yeah. And as someone that is African American, we went through so many levels of struggle that it came to a point where, when you did find freedom, you just wanted to be around the people that look like you, the people that you felt accepted by because of so much struggle. So as we grew up, we were just told that, like, hey, just choose to be around the people that, want to welcome you and be friendly. Not understanding that it's a whole nother world that just needs a different perspective.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, that's a very deep, that can get very deep very quickly because, like, if you think about the stuff, like the redlining and the things that happen historically, especially in Kansas City, that like created by design and very intentional separation and unwelcomeness, like in different areas of the city. And now we're a little bit removed to where like that's just the norm. Yeah. And so like people are in neighborhoods and they're like, okay, well this is just normal or whatever, and they live and stay in those communities their whole lives, and they were not a part of that generation, or maybe even their grandparents or their great grandparents. Anyways, I don't think it's like translated to people who are alive today, people our age, to realize like that's not right, you know, the way the separation happened.
That
But
was
like,
by design, yeah.
but it's also just lost that it's like, oh, okay, this is just the norm. Like,
Yeah,
this is just how
you find
things are.
it.
This is just our community.
Every design becomes a norm when no one's trying to change it.
Yeah.
You know, and so long it took, you know, now you're seeing people wanting to change and shift. But like you said, that design, mind you, when we first started talking, I said Bannister and Blue Ridge. Never did I speak of the plaza, right?
Yeah.
See, by design mindset, we knew where we could go and where we couldn't go. Even though the plaza was literally right down the street in our community, we never touched past Truce.
Wow.
Never. I can't remember until I got older, I could say I went past Truce. But I couldn't give you, I mean, Wednesdays, like, I think I went one time.
Yeah.
My sister graduated from high school, and we all went there and got shakes, and I thought that was the best thing ever. I'm like, they got a place like this. And
So nice.
yeah,
Wow.
but it was like, it's right down the street from where you've been, but never thought that we could go that way.
Yeah. So take us past high school. Did you go to college or?
No, man. Actually, I stopped going. I dropped out of high school in the 10th grade.
Job Corps, you said that.
Yeah. Well, no, Job Corps. Then I came back and went back to school.
Okay. There's levels to this, I
It
see.
was levels, man. I was really a troubled child. I want to say that I don't want to say troubled child. I just think that I had a gift and I didn't really know what it was, and didn't nobody understand. Like, I wanted to be self-sufficient. I was very smart, but I was one of the people that wanted to do something different. And then growing up the way I grew up, school didn't seem like it was important to me. And then the school system, right? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't have someone in my life to try to dial down and say, hey, read this, learn this, write this, like, learn how to be better at your craft. Instead, it was more, this is what you need to do. Go to school, get a job. But
here's no guidance on exactly how to do it. Apply.
I mean,
Go.
I have a problem, and I'm learning this recently. I have a problem with the notion. Like, I work with kids, high risk youth. And I see that there's a mentality that's kind of common with some of my clients, and I imagine along bigger than that. That, like, in the hood and stuff, is like the school. And I live in the hood too, so it's not like I'm saying like, oh, it's me looking from the outside in. That, like, school isn't that important. That, like, a lot of their parents didn't finish school, and they're like, oh, we're fine. Like, it's just like they lump it in. And it's unfortunate because part of it is true. They lump it in with that systemic thing that was against them, like, as minorities for a long time. So they have a hard time trusting it as a system, as an institution. And so therefore, like, it loses value in the minds of some of these parents, and then therefore they don't allow the students to flourish within that system fully. And my problem is that I agree with it to some extent that that's true, but, like, school in my mind, and what I realize is that it's not, like, about all the information that they're learning. It's really about the structure, right? The structure and the discipline. You know, the structure, discipline, and respect are things that you learn in school. And if you have those things, structure, discipline, and respect, then your chances of being successful, regardless of what you want to do, have increased exponentially.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, and I tell my kids, like, you don't have to, graduating college doesn't mean success for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, you can be a stay-at-home dad and be successful. You can be own your own business, be an entrepreneur, do whatever, like, literally anything. But, like, if you have those things instilled on you as a kid, if you value the structure and value the schedule and things like that, then you will have the opportunity to be most successful at whatever endeavor that you're going into.
So my take on that is, I mean, I wholeheartedly believe that. I mean, that's what I'm instilling in my daughter now. But the problem is, in the African American community, is that we don't have fathers. We grow up without fathers. We grow up without leaders. So we don't have no one telling us, like, hey, you need the discipline, you need this. Instead, we're trying to figure it out. And so when we walk outside our door, the streets become our father.
Yeah.
The people that we look up to are actually people that are living in the streets, but they're taking care of home. They're taking care of responsibility. Those are our entrepreneurs. You know, those are people that we can see that are doing more, even though it might not be the right way. And so in our mind, we're witnessing moms struggle, working multiple jobs, if they are working, you know, or welfare. You know, it's like our homes are so broken that we're not trying to understand discipline and respect. And what we're trying to do is provide a better life for our families, and not understanding that the structure is what we need. Instead, we're trying to move faster. And like for me, you know, what made me actually leave school was that for a year straight, we had a lot of substitute teachers, and we were getting a lot of handout paperwork. I didn't have respect for that. I felt like if I graduated, I was going to be dumb. Like, it just didn't feel right.
Yeah. So you were like.
So I challenged myself. I said, well, if I want to go, I don't want to graduate and get this type of education and feel like I've learned something. Instead, let me take this GED test that's going to challenge me. And then after I took it, like I went to school, went to college to be an accountant. I didn't finish. So like I went to a lot of, I just knew that I wanted to do something. So I went, I did about a year and a half for accounting. I did about 2.5 years for business management, you know, and so all these things was to prepare me for the things that I'm doing today in life. And I didn't know that then. I just knew that I wanted something more. I was just tired of waiting for the system to give it to me. It was like, you got to take control of it. And like at a young age, I was just trying to take control of my life. And I was tired of people telling me which way to go, because everyone else that went that same route was going down. They wasn't going up.
Right.
I had more ambition.
All right, we're going to get more into your journey here in just a
100%.
second. We got to take a quick break. You're here with the Realennials, and we're here with Wes Hamilton. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the show. You're tuned into the Realennials. I'm Pat.
I'm Ruby.
And we're still here with Wes. Thanks again for joining us. All right, so you're telling us a little bit more about your journey, how you left school, and kind of like some of the mindset that helped you get out of that. So a little bit more progression. What's going on after that in your early 20s? What's going on?
You know, even though I did a lot of schooling, I was still in the streets. I wanted to just educate myself, but there was no ambition to be more of an entrepreneur. Like I said, like I am today. I didn't understand that the route I was taking was preparing me. Yeah. But I just wanted to be prepared for the things that I was facing just every day, day to day. And the people I surround myself with wasn't of a positive, you know, lifestyle. I seen leadership in everything that I did, but I still seen a lot of following. So like you say, like late teens, early 20s, I was trying to figure out who I was, you know, and at that point, I made a lot of choices and decisions that probably didn't go geared to like education or even success. Instead, it was more, it changed to just trying to survive. You know, it went back to like, all right, I left school because I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that. Then like my choices in life veered me from being away from friends and family, and it just put me in a position where it was like, oh, I got to fend for myself. Now I got to survive. I can't live on the street, so I got to make sure I got a house. I can't do this. And so at the age of 21, I had found out that my daughter, I was going to have a daughter. And so that really like woke me up and saying like, the baby effect.
You guys heard of that? That's like an entrepreneur, like entrepreneurs like ramp up their entrepreneurship as soon as they find out they have a baby. Like that's when people start like getting on it. They're like, oh crap. Like I have to do something.
Yes. And so but that's what it was. And I was like, okay, I gotta start to do something. And then at this point, didn't know, still wasn't into entrepreneurship per se, but I just wanted to work. So I got like a real good job and started working. I got into this dress business, casual lifestyle. So I started to dress up instead of streetwear. So I was maturing.
Okay.
And that was a good thing for me. And that led to about, I worked there for a couple years. And that was just life. It was really just working. At this point, I felt like I was legit.
Yeah.
So it felt good. So that was, again, I went back into that cycle of, finishing school, going to college, getting a job, and just working.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so at this point, it's like, okay, I did a little bit of college, and I did all these little steps. So now I guess I just supposed to work full time, and this is life.
Yeah.
Now I got this 9 to 5, and that's it. And there was still no push to be more. And then my life changed. That's the best part. Like, honestly, that was such a wake-up call.
Got shaken up.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, so let's see. So 5 days after my 24th birthday is when I got into a confrontation with an ex-girlfriend of mine, and that led into me eventually being shot multiple times and being paralyzed from the waist down. Man, it just woke me up. It woke me up in a way that I have became more successful in life. I've became more confident with who I am. I actually know who I am. And literally I'm living the best life ever. So I feel like I had a path, and I was just a knucklehead my whole life. Yeah. And it was more or less like, all right, I got to do something to wake you up. And maybe that's going to be me taking something away from you for you to gain so much more. And that's what I believe happened.
Yeah, and we've heard you talk about it a couple of times, but like, please feel free to enlighten our listeners, because like your story is so profound, and like the way some of the struggle that you experienced after that happened, and like dealing with that, and like literally not knowing how you were going to go on, and like just like, man,
because, well, for one, you're at a point where you're still trying to figure out how to, shape your life. Again, no leaders, kind of trying to break that cycle of the leaders that we did look up to, because that was a lifestyle we didn't want to go for anymore. Trying to change the trajectory. And so when something traumatic happens, I wake up, for one, I thought I was dead. So let's just go back to that situation, right? Yeah. So I get shot 2 times. I'm laying on the ground. I'm thinking I'm dead. I lost my first friend at 13. It was a cycle after that. Wow. The streets don't love you, and that's what we know. So even though I was trying to do the right thing, at this point, I just believed that my past came to haunt me. Everything that I felt, that I had got away from, it was just at this point, it was like, all right, well, it caught up with me. So being shot 2 times, hey, whatever. At least I made it to 24. In our community, man, celebrating your 21st is the best thing ever. Because when you make it, you believe that it wasn't destined for you to make it to that age. So at 24, and even though it was a couple days after my birthday, I'm like, man, at least I celebrated my 24th. And it was just those type of thoughts. Yeah. Like, I was not saying I was at peace, because I was not. I had just got sole custody of my daughter maybe a couple months before my accident. She was 2. Yeah. So the only thing that was really going through my head was, I can't be a father. I just got custody of my daughter. That was more focused than me. Like, instead, it was like, well, I can leave. but who's gonna raise my daughter?
Yeah.
So, you know, waking up in the hospital, I'm depressed. And I'm feeling all alone because now I'm different. And so I don't feel accepted. Like I was already trying to feel accepted and do everything I need to be accepted around my peers. But now I'm like, nobody's going to accept me. And on top of that, I'm overweight. I had always been overweight my whole life. I was, at this point, I would say about 240. I'm 5'4". So anyone can put that together and be like, dang, you ain't got to do that. But seriously, I was a big guy. Well, when I was walking, being big wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
When I got in the wheelchair, well, it was, you know. And so depression sunk in. Me having this mindset, again, is you don't know what path to take because the people that you're supposed to look up to aren't really motivating you, you know. So, like, when I get in this wheelchair, all I'm doing is looking at my life through other people's lives that I had always seen. And so it was always someone overweight, someone depressed or unhappy. They had on like Velcro shoes, sweatpants, t-shirt. That was it, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as I get into this position, I tell my mom, go buy me some Velcro shoes, because I had never seen my feet as swollen as they were. And I didn't understand it. So I just thought that's how they were going to be. So I couldn't wear my shoes. So I lost confidence. I didn't think that I could be this guy that dressed the way I used to and be stylish. I thought, like, man, this is really a trap. Wow. So I fell into this trap.
Oh,
and,
no.
you know, so I fell into this trap, and it lingered on for about 3 years. And within this 3 years, I had suffered something called a pressure ulcer on my tailbone. And basically what this is just being overweight and never lifting your body up. And so I would say overweight for me, but anyone that has a disability or they're paralyzed and you can't feel anything, you can lay on a pin top and create a sore on your bottom that'll take months to heal. Oh, wow. And so it's that serious. So I was just always sitting, and I wasn't sitting properly. And so I got this sore. My body didn't heal. That was 2 years of bed rest just from this sore. It was like, when I say bed rest, I was only able to get out 3 hours a day. So you talk about defeat. Yeah. I honestly felt like I told myself I was defeated before I ever was defeated. You know, because we always talk about the mindset thing. And so as soon as I got injured, I'm like, life is over. You know, this is nothing. You know, it's like, why am I here? Like, it was all these doubts of what I could and could not do before I even understood what I could or could not do. So it was like, how am I going to get out of this? And then I'm still a father. So I'm like, I'm thinking of being a worthless father. I can't do nothing. Like, I talk so negative self-talk, right? Yeah. Like, everybody says, like, never do negative self-talk. I practice never doing it now. But at this point, there's no way you're going to tell me not to be negative about this situation. You know, like, the world doesn't accept people with disabilities. I've always been that person that was looking at other people like there was something wrong with them because of how I was taught, you know? And so now I'm that person that people are going to look at. There's no way I have confidence, anything. So, but I still was a father, you know, and I was like, how can I change my life to be an influence on her? And at this point, I'm just like, I just want to take her to the park. I mean, it was just that simple. I was just tired of people taking my child places, and I couldn't, you know. And so I asked the doctor, like, what could I do? And he told me to add more protein to my diet. Again, man, protein sounded like a foreign language. Wow. We didn't get taught protein. You know, now I know it's a lot of sources of protein, but back then I didn't. And so, again, and here we go at this guy that had the ability and was motivated to learn. And so that's why I taught myself, and I took the steps that I did to even be an adult and be mature, but I didn't know how. And so when he told me more protein, they hit me with a drink called Ensure. And my grandma drank Ensure before she passed. So I couldn't drink it. Yeah, like, my mindset was like, this is an old people's drink, and there's no way you're going to have me drink it. And so I remember tasting it, and because of my mindset, I'm like, I can't even drink it. Well, what do I do? You know, what do I do at a point where I'm constantly defeated? And, like, I had always let my mind tell me what I could or could not do. And now at this point, it's like, your mind can't tell you. You got to make it up. You got to create it. And so I ended up going to school for while I could get out 3 hours a day, and I went to school to be a dietitian. Because I had to learn nutrition, and it was like I still wanted to figure it out, and nobody was going to tell me. I mean, I looked on social media. At this point, it probably wasn't what it was now. It's about 2014, so you seen like a lot of stuff that you had to know what was real and what wasn't.
Right, yeah.
But it started to become interesting, and so when I opened up when I got in school, when I first opened up the book on nutrition, I fell in love with food. Because I started to see the way my food was made, and I started to see how other food was created. And it just, it threw me off, you know. And I think one of the biggest things, it wasn't the food that woke me up. It was the fact that I finally got to see how much sugar was in my Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it in like a stack. I seen it in cubes.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh, you got this can, it's a couple cubes. It wasn't a couple, it was a nice little stack. And then it's like, oh, you got this bottle. It's like, and it's like a 1 liter. And it's like, and I'm like, oh, no, because if I had a spoon, there's no way I'm putting that much sugar in anything.
Right.
And it changed my mind. It's like, all this is in this. And then when I started thinking like, okay, is this why, you know, I've always been overweight. Like I've never been confident with myself. And it was just like a reality check. I've never been educated on food. Yeah. And so now that I'm educating myself, I wanted to change. You know, I was like, I found a new door to walk through. And so I got into food, and I lost 100 pounds in less than a year.
Wow.
While I was still on bed rest. So
just from
nutrition,
eating. Diet?
Just from eating.
Gosh.
You know, so right. And I mean, I was still in denial. Yeah. I was just a big guy. I would say.
Oh, we just have one. He's signaling.
I would say, like, you know, I was size maybe. I wear like a 44 jean when I first started, like being in a wheelchair. And so I was in denial all this time while I was losing weight because I didn't understand it. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, no, I can't lose weight. I always tried to lose weight. I mean, at this point, I believed that I was big boned. I believed that was a thing. Yeah. You know, it's like.
That's that mindset again. Yeah, like, I can't change this, but you did.
And so I remember getting to like a 36 jean. And even though I couldn't fit the 36s no more, I still wore them because there was no way I was getting smaller than a 36. Yeah. Also, being in a wheelchair, it's just not easy to be weighed. So even though I was eating, I could never get on a scale. So I think that was a good thing for me because people get on the scale and be like, oh, I lost 20 pounds, I'm good, right? Yeah. For me, it was like, nah, I just wanted to lose weight. So I was just keep working and keep working. So we get, so I get in the hospital bed on my last surgery, and this is like January 2015. And so I get in the hospital bed, they weigh me, and they weigh me, I'm 135. Wow. And yeah, that's me.
You were like,
oh, no, look, I took 5 more pounds off because I had clothes on. I'm like, all right, well, since I got these clothes and shoes on, I must be 130 then, right? And they're like, yeah, you 130. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to believe that too. Because at this point, I had accomplished something I had never did. You know, like, one, I lost weight, but 2, I did something I put my mind to. And, like, you know, my whole life, I did things I put my mind to or I wanted to, but I never finished because I just wasn't motivated. I didn't want it that bad. It was like maybe I went to school to please my mom so that she wouldn't think that I was just a failure, right? Like maybe I went to get a job because I wanted to act like I could make some legit money even though I still wanted to be in the streets. Like it was just always for someone else. And at this point, it was for me. And so I lost this weight because I wanted it bad enough for me. And then my life, everything after that, it just became different because it's like you hear these things, like you can do whatever you put your mind to. But how many people really believe in that? And I started believing in it because I had just did something paralyzed that I could never do walking.
Wow.
We're going to hear more about the continuation of your journey. You're tuned into the Realennials. I'm Pat.
I'm Ruby.
And we'll be right back. We're still here with Wes. I'm Pat.
And you're here with the Realennials. We're joined by Wes Hamilton. We've been having a really interesting discussion, and we just learned some other stuff during the break that is blown our minds. Did you guys know that you're only supposed to eat half a banana? That's the serving size. Wes,
have you seen those memes with it's like the banana, and then it's like the Anna. Like the banana Anna.
No.
Oh my god! Oh my goodness! It's so stupid.
I'm gonna go look for it.
Here.
Anyway, well, yeah, it's the dumbest thing ever. Anyway, so back to the important topic of conversation.
Right.
You and our guest Wes here. Thank you again for joining us, and you just have like such a profound story, and like your positivity and your work ethic and what you represent is so profound. Like we just had to have you here and like speak to our audience and like just let people know out there that, you know, like pretty much anything's possible, and like the things that you've overcome to get to where you're at, it's incredible. And so like tell us a little bit about your nonprofit, and like so you like we left off at the break about you accomplishing your first like real big goal like after the incident in which you became paralyzed. And I imagine we cut to the break at that point, but I imagine that was kind of like that first big goal was like the catalyst,
like the spark,
to let you know that like anything else is possible. So like then what happened after that? How did things progress?
Man, yeah, it was. And you know, like I said before the break, is that until I was on the hospital bed, I didn't know how much weight I lost. So after I had my last surgery, I had 6 weeks of healing on this specialized bed. So that means like bed, baths, everything. But I went in with such a different mindset. Like I had the same exact surgery a year prior, and which led to a year extra of bed rest because I took it the wrong way. My mindset was wrong. The way I thought about healing was negative. So at this point, I'm positive about healing. I'm confident about myself. I even bought my own refrigerator to come in there, and I had my mom meal prepping all my food, and like nice. I started to motivate the nurses because now they're seeing like, oh my God, this is like sometimes you get to a point where you start to believe that when people get in a position, there's no hope for them. You see what I mean? Yeah. Because there's nobody breaking that barrier. And so now I'm giving them hope. And they're like, oh, my God, like, look how driven he is. So in my mind, I'm like, I got to do something more. So I had 6 weeks to heal. Next thing you know, I'm like, this is bigger than me. Yeah. So I started to look online on how to start a nonprofit. Right, like this is how my organization began, in a hospital bed. Wow. I came up, so I took a picture of myself. I was skinny, so even though I was in a hospital bed, I'm showing the world. Like, so I took a picture of myself, and I'm like, hashtag disabled but not really, and people went crazy. And when I say people, it wasn't like millions of people. It was just all my family and friends and whoever I was connected with was like. You know, that was when I realized people really read hashtags, so watch what you put. That's your message, you know. So everybody was like, oh, my God, like, disabled not really, that's so cool. Like, I like it. And I didn't think it was something then, but I wanted to use it. And so here it comes where that mindset shift, like, how bad do I want things? So I didn't have money to go pay somebody for logos or anything, so I went to YouTube. How do I create a logo? Said, all right, download Photoshop, do this. So I started creating logos in a hospital bed. Came up with this whole like generic, like oh man, it was so cool. But I started to see more. I started to see that life wasn't just about yourself. It was about how you can impact others. And because I made a change in my life, there was no reason why I shouldn't help other people that I've known to struggle. This whole demographic of people with disabilities have been struggling for years because no one has showed them a better way. And then it's just like anyone that's successful in your neighborhood, in your community. What do we normally see when you change or you get successful? You leave, right? You take your success and you go somewhere else where everyone else has went with their success instead of kind of putting it back in that community. And so in my mind, I'm like, man, I can't. Who would I? Actually, this is the thought. What would my daughter think of me if I don't help other people? Because my life changed. I got to go change somebody else's life. Yeah. And so that was more important to me. And I wanted to show my daughter more of what, you know, confidence and what impacting others and, you know, believing in yourself to get to a point where you can pour out this confidence and help other people grow. So in 6 weeks, I come up with a nonprofit. I mean, I registered it by the state, everything while I was in a hospital bed. I knew I had something. And I had a drive now. Like, I pulled something out of me that I never had, and that was will. I was determined. So I get out of surgery, and I get out the hospital. So now I'm ready to go travel. Again, like, I never travel, right? But now I'm like, man, I've accomplished something. Now I need to go learn life. And so I found out about like different expos that was going on in different cities, and they're called ability expos. So I wanted to learn what was out there for people with disabilities. Because in this 6 weeks, I'm doing research, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Yeah. So the first trip I took was to Chicago, and I drove. I found out I could drive with, being paralyzed. And I was like, man, I'm going to drive. So I literally drove by myself to Chicago. This is my first time being completely independent. Yeah. And it just changed everything for me. And I was like, I started to meet other people with disabilities that had overcame. Yeah. Like, it wasn't just me. It's just that everybody was split, and it was like, oh my God. So I started to be motivated by the things that they were doing, because I was still trying to figure it out. And so I ended up in LA. I want to say I ended up in LA January 2016. Like, I get this awesome time schedule because I was shot January 2012. So my last surgery was January 2015. So by 2016, I'm going into an expo in January. And this is where someone tells me about wheelchair bodybuilding and adaptive CrossFit. Yeah. And I'm like, what is that? They're like, oh, go look up these YouTube videos. So I watch one while I'm at home. I start crying. And it was adaptive CrossFit, because at this point now I'm witnessing people with disabilities that are worse than mine in my perspective. It's like, they're pushing themselves. Yeah. I mean, it was like, what am I upset about? Like, now I'm watching someone maybe without an arm or without a leg, and they're doing more stuff, and I'm complaining even though my limbs might not work, but they here? Yeah. Oh, no. So that was another like mental thing for me. It was like, quit complaining when you have more than somebody else. So you go take advantage of this life. And that was like that driving force for my organization. Was like, I want to do something where I push people with disabilities past their mental limits, but also give them the confidence to understand that, hey, there's always going to be someone that's in a worse position than you. So why are you complaining when you're still here? Yeah. Make something about your life, because that's how I felt. Like, I had made something about mine, so I want other people to make theirs. And so I competed. I'm still competing. So I competed bodybuilding, CrossFit, the whole 2016, finding my niche, still pushing nutrition as the first thing, because I believe that nutrition was the reason why I changed myself. So with Disabled But Not Really, we focus on nutrition first, and then we go into fitness. But with both of those together, I believe that you start to gain the confidence and the courage that you need to actually go out into society and feel like you're accepted. It's not about how other people want to accept you, it's how you accept yourself. Yeah. And so I started to see that as I started to break these barriers and go into these, going into these rooms, and I'm the only person in a wheelchair. Well, people come to me all the time and say, Wes, I keep forgetting you in a wheelchair. It's because you don't see it no more. You see me. Yeah. Right? And so how do I teach other people with disabilities to be seen as them? Well, you got to see yourself first. And so that's what we do with Disabled Not Really. And so, yeah, man, I mean, I believe, coming from where I came from, breaking these barriers and always having some type of confirmation that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I would say January 2017, after I've competed for a whole year, I got featured on the front page of the Kansas City Star. And this is a picture of me climbing a rope. It was January 3rd, 2015. For me, that was a big accomplishment. Yeah. It wasn't just an accomplishment for, of me overcoming. It was a huge accomplishment because I had never seen a black man on the front page of the Kansas City Star for something positive. Yeah. Wow. And I had a big picture. I mean, it was. And so for me, it was like, now, my mindset again shifted. It's like, oh my God, I can impact my community. Now it's like, it's still bigger than me, but it's bigger than the disability. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now I'm showing people, like, again, it's three things. It's integrity, it's leadership, it's confidence. It's like, these are the things that has guided me. It's not that anybody gave me this.
Yeah.
It's not luck. It's just that I believed in myself. I'm thinking for myself, and I'm doing everything I need to do without nobody looking. Right? Like I'm not trying to impress nobody. I'm doing it all myself, and I've gained success, you know, and it was like these confirmations showed me, okay, I've struggled. I mean, at this point I'm like 27, you know. I was 28. So I mean, I've been struggling my whole life, and now you telling me the moment I start believing in myself and I took control of my life, now I can accomplish things, as well as I'm thinking more positive about who I am.
Yeah.
It's like, never knew how powerful positivity can change your life.
Right.
Because when you're surrounded by so much negativity, you don't give yourself a chance to be positive. And see, and you look at everything and say, oh man, look at that graffiti on the wall, man. I guess this is life, right?
Yeah.
Like, forget it. Instead, now I go out and be like, look at that art.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you start appreciating things differently.
Yep.
Like, man, like, even though somebody tagged up, they got talent. So what if someone told them that they could use this talent to be successful instead of doing what they're doing? Like, now it's constantly changed in my mind. It's like, oh man, Wes, you got to do more. You got to start impacting people. So that's where, like, I got into speaking, and I got into just really moving people, because I know that my story's powerful. But I know my story's powerful just because I know what I went through.
Right.
You know, and I know that the mindset shift only happened because I got paralyzed, and it just woke me up. Like, I read more. I listen to podcasts all the time. Like, I'm more into that than TV.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't even focus on that. I'm always, every day, I grind to focus on how to impact others and how to keep building myself.
Yeah.
Mentally and physically. And so it's just been, hey man, it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah, and if you're just listening to the audio, Wes is super jacked, and although he's in a wheelchair, he could probably still beat you up. Not that he's a violent person.
Yeah.
Oh man, hey, I
got
appreciate
going
it.
on.
But no, I mean, I think that, you know, honestly, I'm honored. I mean, it's a blessing to be in this position, because I've changed my life, and now I have the ability to change other people's lives. And it's not like I'm just doing it because it's supposed to be done. Like, I believe in it so much that I see myself as this was a purpose. Like, it was a purpose all the way around. Like, you know, we talk about, so yeah. All right, I want to hit your listeners with this, because it's a powerful part of my story. But you know, when I was shot, and like I said, it was a confrontation with an ex-girlfriend. So the guy I got shot by this guy, and the guy that actually shot me, I never knew, like, I never spoke to. So even though me and her was going back and forth, I never knew this guy. Like, I never talked to him. Yeah. And so I was walking back to my car when I was shot. So I didn't see it coming. Oh, no. You know, so you know, as we talk about that depression stage and stuff, I was literally at this point where, you know, it's like, why me? Why me? Why me? But I never took accountability that certain actions that I did that day led to that situation. Yeah. But it was so much easier to blame somebody else that I never knew, instead of understanding why he did it. And so I had an opportunity a couple months ago to actually sit in front of him.
Wow. No way.
And so he's not in prison. So, you know, we go by the street code. I live by the street code because that's what I was built into. So I never went to court. You know, I didn't believe in that. Instead, at the point of my injury, I was looking at retaliation, right? Yeah. Like, man, I'm gonna make sure my friends and family, we're not gonna let you get locked up. Yeah. But instead, you know, over this time of growth, I had a friend ask me and said, Wes, what would you do if you seen this guy? Like, you're so positive now. You know, like, how are you gonna react to the guy that shot you? And I'm like, man, I forgive him. So I did like this Facebook, I mean, like the YouTube video and all this. I'm like, forgiveness, right? Pushing out forgiveness. Yeah. But how much did I believe it in my heart? And then someone came up to me and said, well, how can you forgive someone if you're not willing to tell them in their face? And I'm like, oh my God, are you serious, right?
Test challenge.
So couple months ago, I got to face him. And so I went in, but I didn't go in just like, why you, right? I went in like, hey, honestly, I went in, it was a bad day for me. It was a really, really bad day. I just lost a family member early that morning. But I also believe that we will never go through things on an easy slope. And we're always going to be faced with challenges and obstacles to see how bad we want it. Yep. And so my mindset was, even though I was being broken down, I knew that it was a reason why I was being held back. And I could have made the excuse and said, no, I'm just not going to do it today. But I went in. And so when I went in, all the things that was clouding me went away. The energy in the room was so powerful. It wasn't bad. It wasn't no negativity. It wasn't no bad vibes. It was like, I want to understand it from you, and you want to understand it from me. So I went in, I took accountability. Hey, man, I know my actions that day obviously led to you being there to put me in this position.
Yeah.
But why, right? And he was like, man, I was trying to preserve a life. And so the reason why he said that is because when I went over, the reason why we got into an argument was because she had someone in the house.
Yeah.
And so the man never came out, but he made a phone call because of me. You see, so it was just like back and forth.
Yeah.
Well, after he let me know how everything went down, the first thing that came to my mind was, well, if the shoe was on the other foot, I would have did the same thing.
Yeah.
There's no way with that mindset, we're not going to call police first and say, hey, make sure I come out this house. We're going to call our family or our friends like, hey, man, this guy out here tripping, whatever.
Yeah,
so with a mentality like that, and knowing that I had it before, I understood it. And it was like, oh, cool. And it was like, it was that, right? Like, even though it doesn't, when I spoke of it, it's like, you did what? But it was that easy to get an understanding, but also to understand that how blessed my life has been. How could I ever be mad no matter what you told me?
Yeah.
Right? So instead, they're like, we had a mediator in the group. He was like, Wes, do you want an apology? I'm like, nah, I actually want to tell you thank you. Thank you for giving me this life, because I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for you. So when we look at my life and the things that I'm doing, it's like it was all a plan, right? Like even me meeting him, it was a plan, because how crazy is because it was on national TV, right? So it'll be aired like maybe in fall of this year.
Wow.
So purpose, bigger than you, right? Like it was bigger than me, and what I did was I did something that it's not seen in our communities. And so I know what type of impact it's going to bring to people to understand that forgiveness is the only way that you can be completely free.
Yeah.
Like there's no grudge. I mean, on it, man. I remember I used to get mad over small stuff, man. You owe me $50. You never gave me my $50 back. You still buying clothes and shoes. Like it was just the small things. And now it's like, I don't even care, right? Like I won't give person something if I need it back in return. Yeah. Like now I'm just more of a giver. I'm trying to be kind. I'm trying to be positive. But there's no way that I can really be upset with anybody for a long time. Like I've even learned how to even change like my attitude when it comes to my child acting up. Like I'm like, I don't even want to yell at you no more, because I don't want that negativity around me. I don't even want to pour it out. Like I don't want to be mean about anything. So I think I freed myself that day when I met that man, and I got to see him face to face. And with me being completely free, I can only imagine what life is about to be now, because I'm limitless mentally. You know what I mean? Like I always tell people, I was disabled physically, mentally before I ever became physically. Because all the limits that I put on my life, as we shared on the first segment, I limited myself. I didn't believe. Instead, I was just following other people's paths. I get shot, get paralyzed, and now I start creating my own. And then I do something that's never really been done, not out of will. It's normally something out of force, right? But then we look at power versus force, right? It wasn't forced, it was powerful. All right, so now I see that whatever's about to happen after that is even more powerful, and that I'm literally I'm rolling, I'm gliding on like purpose right now in life. And so I just wanted your listeners to get that part, because now if you can hear me say that, I forgave a person that changed my life forever, then you can forgive that person that you're just upset with for whatever the smallest thing in life is.
Yeah, don't carry that around.
Yeah, that's profound. That carrying around negativity and like a lot of times, like it's hard to forgive people, but I think a lot of times it's hard to forgive yourself too. Like a lot of people have I speak for me personally. Like I in that same like realm of like of being basically mentally disabled, right? For a long time, after my mom died growing up, I was pretty much severely depressed for at least 10 years. And it wasn't until my early 20s when I finally kind of like started changing that belief system of like being angry at the world, carrying around that negativity, and like hating myself basically for, it was like a self-perpetuating cycle of being depressed, being mad at the world, and then being mad at myself, and then like just that over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And
No, just to piggyback, but no, that's exactly what it is. When we think about like what is forgiveness is really forgiving yourself and taking accountability of all actions, and not blaming other people. Like when you think about that, everyone can set themselves free, but everyone wants to play the blame game and never take accountability. Accountability leaves you vulnerable in a way, because now you're admitting to whatever mistakes. You're admitting to the blame. You're admitting to everything. But when you take accountability, you can forgive yourself, because it's me. It's nobody else. It doesn't matter how bad a situation is. You still got to look at what was the small action you took. Right? Like everybody will leave that little small line, right? No matter what. But I think that's what frees you. It's like, even like love, right? Like I always tell people, like, I wanted people to love me when I didn't love myself. And so it never worked.
Yeah.
But when I started to love myself, then it was easy for me to spread love and push out love, because I knew exactly what love felt like. So you can't go forgive someone if you never forgave yourself, because how you don't even know how it feels. So when you go out, the energy's wrong.
From the get-go.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I forgive you. No, you don't. You ever seen somebody like that? Man, you don't forgive me. It ain't even real. It's because they never even took accountability. They're just saying it. It's a difference. Like when the energy comes out, you don't even have to say, I forgive you, because it's like, oh, I forgive myself. We're good, right? Like I'm never going to say you, because now I'm still blaming you. Like when the guy said, hey, do you want to ask him for forgiveness or get a sorry or apology? I said, no, I want to tell you thank you, because I took accountability. So now I'm thanking you for the things that happened, even though it was a transition or a transaction in a way. I'm taking full accountability because I'm freeing myself from this situation.
Yeah, and it's incredible how that mindset can just help you transition. Like when I realized to take accountability for my emotions and like take accountability for my well-being, that's when I was allowed myself to forgive myself for like things I've done and the way I've treated people throughout that whole time when I was severely depressed, and it just allowed myself to grow from that point. And then like everything that's ever happened since then, like it's nothing, because now I have that mentality of like positivity, or more so I should say, not as much as you, but like more so than I used to be. And like a lot of bad things happen all the time. Cars break down. I have situations at my house, 'cause I'm a homeowner, and like everything that happens, it's just like, oh, like that's fine. Like I've been through the worst of it, I think, and like everything that happens is just like normal stuff. But when you just have that accountability and you have that positive reinforcement mentality, like those things can happen and not affect you, and you're allowed to have that energy to keep going and help other people out.
The mind is powerful. That's it. The mind is what's keeping people from, being everything they can be. And the mind is also the reason why people are everything they can be. And so I think when you can understand how powerful your mind is, you can be whatever you want to be. You can heal yourself. You can do so much more in life. And I think that I'm just a living purpose of that. I know how powerful my mind is. And so I became everything I want to be. I became myself because of the way I think and what I tell myself. It's nothing more than that. It's what I tell myself every morning I wake up that has made me who I am.
And that's not easy. That happens, like, if you're depressed or you're going through that situation, that's not easy. I mean, like, you hear a 45-minute podcast and someone's life is completely changed around, and that's taken years. But, like, it starts with just the first day of telling yourself positive things. Days that do not, there's tough days through that. You'll have a few good days, you'll have a few good weeks, and then you'll have a bad week, or you'll have a bad few days, or even a bad month. I tell myself, and I tell family members and friends that, like, don't let a bad day or a bad week or even a bad month like throw off your long-term goals, because like when you deal with depression, sometimes you revert back to a baseline that like can just sideline like all of your long-term goals. And it's just like, just recognize that it's just like a bad day, a bad week, or a bad month, and just like deal with it, take it in, ride the wave, but then get back onto your track. Like, just don't let it phase you like that.
It's a new day. You wake up, it's a new day. One of my quotes I tell when I go speak is, why are you worried about yesterday when yesterday's not worried about you? It's yesterday. it's gone. It's history. So that means your past is history. Focus on your future.
All right, Wes, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find all your stuff?
I am Wes Hamilton. That's it.
We'll put the links down in the description.
Yeah, we'll have everything for you guys down below. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story and just giving us that inspiration. I think everybody that's listening to this, hit up Wes if you want to talk more about this, because he can definitely inspire you. He's sitting here next to us and giving us all this positive energy. So thank you so much. And we'll definitely have you back on.
Oh, man.
We're excited for you. You have some great things going on.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. So thank you. And yes, guys.
I'll see you in the future. And everybody out there, thanks again for tuning in. We're the Realennials. I'm Pat.
I'm Ruby.
And thank you, Wes, again. So, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, fam.
Says I'll be here until the very end. You know you got a friend in me. You know you got a friend. And you got a friend in me. And you got a friend. Ooh, but truthfully, honestly, you should know I'm the one who sticks around when the going gets tough, babe. When you're up against the wall, you know who to call. When you ain't got nobody else, you know who your help comes through. 'Cause you will never know what another woman's so fine. You'll never meet another woman so fly. I'm hoping that you're joking, but I'm knowing that it's chosen so wide. Bound to keep on moving, keeping grounded, keep improving and try to be kind. What anybody says, got a friend in me, and you got a friend. Ooh, truthfully, honestly, you should know to take a grain of salt with the advice that you get it from your friends, baby. Do you know you're a star? They don't know who you are, baby. 'Cause anybody else might mistake you out. So you gotta believe you're more than what meets the eye. And you better believe you're worth it. Protect your life. I'm hoping that you're joking, but I'm knowing that it's chosen so to keep on moving, keeping grounded, keep improving and try to be kind until the very end. 'Cause you got a friend in me, and you got a friend. Ooh.
All right. right, everybody. Ivy Roots, what a wonderful show. Thank you so much for being on the show. Amazing. Oh my God. Please tell everybody where they can find you.
Thank you for having me. You can find my music on Spotify, Apple Music, all streaming platforms. If you search Ivy Roots Music, and follow me on social media at Ivy Roots Music. I'm Ivy Roots, and this is my band. Timmy Tunga on guitar, Kurt Wheeler, Daniel Cole on drums.
All right. Thank you guys all so much for being here. And thank you, Ivy Roots. Everybody, stay tuned and look out for more content. We'll be at you soon.